I'm going to show you how you can quickly needle felt a cute Easter chick using a penny. Plus I'll show you a neat little trick for shaping hollow objects like a shell. First we're going to create a template using the penny. Draw around the bottom half of a 1 cent coin or a 1p piece. Then move it up about half the width of the coin and draw around the top quarter. Join the ends to make an egg shape. If you want to needle felt a slightly larger chick, then you can use a 10p piece or a quarter in the same way. Oh, don't mind the rabbit, he just likes watching what I'm doing. Take some yellow carded wool and roll it up into a cylinder and check that it's about a third larger than your template, as this will become smaller as we stab it. You might need to add a bit more around the bottom to make it wider and more egg-shaped. Stab it evenly all round, angling your needle at 90 degrees to the shape you're making. If you've watched my Fix Felting Shapes video, you'll know how important the angle of the needle is. Notice how I'm changing the angle as I go around the base of the egg shape. It's still very squishy at the moment, it needs to be much firmer than this. But also, looking at our template, it looks the right size now, so if we stab it more it'll become too small. So I'm going to add some more wool. I've laid the wool out that I'm going to add so that it's a triangle shape, which means I'm adding more wool to the right hand side than the left to create that egg shape with a wider base. You should never be afraid to do this. It's always best to start with less wool than you think you'll need, as it's very easy to add wool but not so easy to take it away. In fact, after this it still didn't match my template, so I added yet another strip of wool just around the bottom of the chick. As usual, I've felted the bottom slightly flat so that the chick will be able to stand up. Once your chick matches your template, make sure it's quite firm so that when we add the eyes they won't sink into the head. Next we're going to make a template for the wing. Mark the height of the body on a piece of paper and divide the height into thirds. This will be the length of the wing. Use the folds as a guide for its length to draw a teardrop shape. Now we're going to cut out this template and use it to get two wings the same size and shape. Take two pieces of the yellow carded wool and check that they're about the same amount so that you get two similar wings. Lay one of the pieces out onto the mat and stab all around the template. This is a bit fiddly, you might want to use finger guards. I managed to stab myself doing this. Ouch. Fold the edges over into the middle and stab them down. If you've got a bit too much, trim it off with some scissors. Keep turning it over and stab until you're happy with the fuzziness. But I think a bit of fuzz is okay on this, as it's supposed to be a fluffy chick after all. Attach each wing to the body about halfway down by stabbing along the top wide part of the wing. Make sure it sticks out slightly to make it look cute. Next I'm going to mark with my needle where the eyes are going to go, approximately a third of the way down the body. Stab two small dots to give us a guide to follow later. To make his beak, take a teeny tiny bit of orange wool and roll it into a ball. Then stab it into a rough oval, just a few times, as you can shape it more once it's attached. Place it in the middle of the head just below where we've marked the eyes. As you attach it, use the angle of your needle to shape it into an oval shape. To make the shell, take some white wool. I'm using roving or tops, but you could also use carded wool. Stab a strip into a thin rectangle. This is going to sit under the wing and go down to the base of the chick, but it needs to be a bit wider than that as it will felt smaller. To make the top look jagged, like a broken egg, stab downwards at intervals and then in between stab upwards in the opposite direction. This will form little triangular peaks. Your angle of your needle is really important here. Once you have the shape, stab around it some more and work all the way along the top of the shell. It will look messy at first, but don't give up. Hold it between a ruler and foam so that you can make the edge more defined and neater. Make sure you've made it long enough to fit around the chick's base. Now for that little trick I told you about. Take a piece of kitchen sponge and cut it into a rounded cylinder that's about the diameter of the chick's base. Then wrap the eggshell around it and needle felt the ends together to make a tube. Now stab the bottom down into the sponge to start to form the bottom of the egg. Don't worry if you have a hole, we're going to fill that in a minute. Take the sponge out and stab around inside to firm up the shape. Then take some more white wool and roll it up into a small ball and stab it into the bottom of the eggshell to fill that hole. Stab all around the inside, tilting the shell to keep its rounded shape. You may need to redefine some of the jagged edge around the top of the shell where you joined it. To make the outside of the shell slightly less fuzzy, place it back on the sponge and stab into it from the bottom. So to finish off the chick, take two tiny pieces of black wool and roll them between your fingers to check that they're both the same amount of wool. Take one of the pieces and stab it into where we've previously marked, angling your needle into the centre, carefully making a tiny rounded eye, and repeat for the other eye. Notice how I'm wrapping the wool around my needle before stabbing to catch loose threads. So here's my cute Easter chick. I'd be very grateful if you click the like button, it'll help this video spread to more felters. And if you'd like to see the tutorial on making the white bunny, click here. Thanks for watching.